Your car's wrecked. You've got to go to all these doctor's appointments. You're in a ton of pain. You're missing work. How could you ever think that hiring a lawyer is affordable or a good idea? Let's find out on Monday Morning Lawyer. Good morning and happy new year, everybody. This is your accident and injury lawyer right here, still in my Elkton office. It's going to be sometime probably in February. I'm told that the new podcast studio in Elkton is going to be open and live. And then I will be broadcasting live from Media House Plaza. So once they launch, I'll send some more information because I know there's a lot of people out there who are thinking about podcasting, who are interested in podcasting, don't know how to start, don't have a place to go to do it, or maybe there's a bunch of businesses out there that want to create content. So when they're open and when they're going, I will make sure that everybody out there knows where these podcasts are now broadcasting from. But for now, I'm broadcasting from my office right here in Elkton. And we're going to talk about one of the most misunderstood elements of hiring an injury attorney, or at least what I've found here in Cecil County in over a decade of servicing my community here, my friends, family, whoever in this Cecil County area and beyond sometimes, hiring an injury attorney. People think lawyers, people think expensive. They're not necessarily wrong, but injury attorneys work differently. You see sometimes advertisements or things on billboards or whatever where there's no fee unless we win, or there's no upfront fee. And a lot of people still don't understand how that works. So here we are. I'm going to lay it out for you right now because the system, so to speak, is set up to give individuals who are in sometimes their worst days the ability to have access to quality representation, to advocacy, because and to just navigating this process in a way that's not going to make them and leave them destitute, because it can be expensive. But injury attorneys, as I said, work a little bit differently. This is not something special that we do here at Bowers Law. It's not something special that injury attorneys who advertise on TV, in magazines, billboards, or back when there was a phone book, that was a big place that lawyers would advertise. But you'd always see these no fees unless we win, no upfront fees, things like that. Everybody in this world specifically, auto accidents and injury cases, handle them that way. And here's why. Number one, as I mentioned in the lead in, you were just in an accident. Your car is wrecked. You don't have a car temporarily. Maybe it's totaled. Maybe it needs to be repaired. Who knows? Because it might be too early in the process. You've been to the hospital. You're in a ton of pain. You've gotten a doctor's note that says don't go to work for 3 days or maybe a week, depending on the severity. Because, of course, as you probably have gathered, we handle cases all across that spectrum. Really, really big ones, really, really small ones. I would say that and maybe I'll do this next week, even though it'll be a little out of order. This is the first episode of 2026. Next week, maybe I'll do a year in review from 2025. But to give you a little snapshot, we settled cases or resolved cases, whether at trial or by a voluntary settlement. Some we had to file suit, some we could settle without, for as much as $1 million in 2025. And I believe the smallest one we might have resolved for was maybe about $5,000. So wide range of accident cases, wide range of injuries. Obviously, one of the two cases that I just mentioned there involved multiple surgeries. The other one, barely anything. We are here to provide to you, the community, our potential clients, however you want to describe yourself, to provide a service. It doesn't matter if your case is large or small or probably somewhere in between. We're here to take as much of this off your plate as possible, because you're dealing with all of this stuff. And we think that Oftentimes, attorneys charge hundreds and hundreds of dollars per hour to handle things. In a criminal context, in a family law, divorce, custody, otherwise context, those may be true. But in injury law, we're not running a clock as far as billing is concerned. Of course, we're keeping track of everything we do for you, but you're not going to pay a retainer when you come sign with us at Bowers Law. We're going to immediately get to work for you. We're going to start contacting insurance companies on your behalf, medical providers on your behalf, everybody under that umbrella. Your focus, as I've mentioned in other episodes, is on your health, your medical appointments, getting the care that you need, and communicating with us. You're going to communicate really with two people, us and your medical professionals, which may be more than one person, but that's it. Auto insurance companies, for any of the parties involved, will handle that. Health insurance companies will handle that. The billing departments at those medical providers, you know it, will handle it. That's what we do here. And as I've mentioned, peace of mind. If we were to shelf a product here at Bowers Law, it would be called peace of mind, because you know that we're going to take care of everything as far as it's related to this accident case. Your Delmarva bill, that has nothing to do with your accident case, but we are in the proper context, and there's other episodes that discuss this, going to take care of wage loss. Make sure you don't waive PIP, or you don't get wages early. Do not waive PIP. Anytime I can get on that soapbox, I'm going to get on that soapbox. How does it work? No money up front. You sign a contract with us or your injury attorney, whoever they are. Traditionally, the fee is 1/3, 33 1/3% of what the case resolves for. So a $3,000 settlement, a third of that is $1,000. A $3 million settlement, a third of that is $1 million. So as you can see, attorneys can be very expensive, even if they're not charging up front. But in this context, you want the expensive one. Why? Because that means more money for you. So no risk on your part other than knowing that we're going to handle this for you. No money up front. We do not have in this office a credit card reader. We only take checks from insurance companies that have your name and our name on. We then make sure everything related to the case, which is typically medical bills or health insurance companies that are owed money back. That's usually about it. Attorney's fees, of course, reimbursement for our expenses, outstanding medical bills. You will see within the office when you come in here to resolve everything, and we'll talk about it over the phone before you make a decision to settle a case, what all those numbers are, who's owed what. We won't ask you to directly pay those because we'll pay them. That money comes from the insurance company. It has your name and our firm's name on. It goes into a holding account called a trust account that is actually monitored by the State Bar Association. When we go to the bank and set it up, we give their tax ID number, not our tax ID number, because it's your money that we are the stewards of. We can't just take it. You have to sign off and say, yes, pay that bill, give me this money, pay my lawyer, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll see the roadmap to where every penny of that money is going. You'll sign, we'll hand you a check. In that stack of checks, anything else that you owe to anybody else. Here's a spoiler alert. If you have a lot of PIP, and a few weeks ago we talked about increasing your PIP coverage and how inexpensive that is, it might cover most of those medical bills. And PIP in Maryland does not need to be paid back. There's way too many factoids in this episode. There's way too much knowledge that's being dropped, too much valuable stuff here. So make sure that you review this, because again, not waiving PIP is a big bullet point. Increasing your PIP to the maximum that your insurance carrier will offer, big, big, big point, because that money does not need to be paid back. And we have maneuvered these cases in certain ways where our client has cleared almost as much money as we settled the case for because of the way that we handled the billing. So again, another important tip, contact us ASAP, the number 885-6200, or hop over to our website, which is right here. Boy, 2 years ago, I didn't know where anything was on this screen. Here, I still barely do. So The peace of mind that you're going to get is we don't get paid till the end because one of those checks there is for us. You get paid technically before we get paid, which means if the case goes sideways somehow, which rarely ever happens, we do a quality of enough job screening these cases as they come in. Most attorneys do. Some don't, but that's not the topic for today. Your check is sitting there. It's ready to go. You could take it to your bank. You could take it to my bank. You could take it to a new bank. Whatever you want to do, that money is yours. You will never write me a check in this process. The money always goes to the other direction, which is sometimes a very confusing thing. I have had clients in the past who not only were shocked with the amount of money that I was giving them in that check at the end of their case, because many of my clients in reality just want to make sure that their medical bills get paid. They just want to make sure that they don't have any ongoing out-of-pocket expense. That's part of that peace of mind thing that we offer, but you get more than that. So I handed a client years ago a check for, I don't remember exactly how much, because again, it was years ago. And it was a lot of money. It was probably $30,000 or $40,000. And the client turned to me and says, "Do you have a list of who I need to pay for my outstanding medical bills?" And it was a pause at a moment because I hadn't really had this question before in this way. But I had to stop and say, okay, that sheet that you just signed, let's walk through it, because this is a medical bill that's outstanding. And here's the check for it. And here's another one. And here's a check for it. So on and so forth. The relief, the shock, the everything all at once that was experienced by my client that day was immense. And it made me realize that maybe I need to spend some time explaining this to future clients, to current clients, to whomever, is that when I hand you a check at the end of this process, or maybe one of the other attorneys here at the office, fine people, unless there has been something very specific that you have directed us to do, which very, very rarely happens with respect to not paying certain bills. We don't do this as a rule. It is an exception that sometimes some of our clients request. It might happen twice a year in hundreds of cases in this office. Everything, as long as you've told us about it, that's another caveat to it, because if we don't know about it, we can't make sure it gets paid. And you need to tell us about it, because otherwise we're not settling your case for enough money. All of those things are taken care of. You're going to have a sheet that bullet points absolutely every payment that's being made from that settlement money. You're going to have a receipt, so to speak, for, hey, all of this is handled. Those checks are going in the mail today. I've got my check I'm taking to the bank. We're going to get taken care of here. We are taken care of because that's what we do here at Bowers Law. So accidents, injuries, I'm your guy, either on the website or call the phone number. For the podcast, every week, we've moved to 11 o'clock. We're going to keep doing this 11 o'clock slot. If you've got a question, we're soon going to have a website dedicated to the podcast. But for now, just send an email, info@bowerslawmd.com. Make sure you mention that you want it on the podcast. When we do have a website for the podcast, it's going to have a contact form in there, so I'll know it came as a podcast inquiry. Also, until that website launches, bowerslawmd.com is the best place to go to find back podcast episodes. There is a yellow bar at the very, very top. You'll find important things like testimonials up there. There's a lot of great ones. If we do year in review next week, which again, we should have done that this week, but it's an idea that popped into my head as I'm doing this episode. So maybe next week, I'll share some of my favorite reviews from clients from 2025, as well as talk about some of the types of situations that we handled. But click that link where it says podcast there, and you'll find all the old podcast episodes. On bowerslawmd.com, there's a ton of valuable information. We're going to really, I think, in 2026, ramp up looking at your insurance policy. As you've noticed, I've talked a lot on these podcasts about insurance because it's so important. And the things that we're doing here, the things that I'm guiding you on, are going to help you in the unfortunate event that you end up getting in an accident. I don't want to say it's inevitable, but it happens all the time because here we are. We're still in business and we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So I don't wish it on anybody, but we're here to help when it's needed. And I like to try to help ahead of time because the things that you do to your insurance policy can have a drastic impact on the results of your case. So that's all I have for this for now, for this week. We'll see you next week at the same time, same location. Yeah, be well out there. Be safe, everybody. Thanks.